I have two phone numbers for Ted. There's Ted. 315.
Hey, Ted.
Hi, everyone.
How are you?
How you feeling?
I'm 100% now, all better.
All right, so let me hold my
numbers for Ted. Okay, we are ready to go on YouTube.
Hi, everyone.
So we can call them.
I'm 100% now, all better.
All right, so we hold my numbers for Ted. Can we turn off YouTube?
We are good. So we are recording and we are live. Okay, now call the meeting to order.
All right. So right now we have all the members of the CAC here, and Michelle Hurst said she was coming, but she is not here yet. So are there any modifications to the agenda? Just gonna sit back and wait. Okay, so I had substantial changes and suggestions for the monthly April 2022 monthly meeting minutes. So I wanted to know how you thought we should do this. Should we discuss them now? Should we put them off till next time?
I think it's okay, you know, I mean, I don't know if there was that much that was really substantive. You asked me a couple of questions, like one of them was on Grand Street and Broadway, and I just, I can put in some, I put in some text straight from Engage Kingston, you know, that's, yeah. It was
Okay, well, because I know that they were bidding out the landscaping plan, but then you mentioned someone who is.
Yes, so right now, the bids have been received, but they're under review.
Right, so that would not have been, maybe there was someone who did the traffic pattern that Kevin listed.
Wait, so we're on the city plan review, Grand Street and Broadway? Oh, yeah, so yes, GPI is the consultant. So what is the question? Is it the part that says the project is coming up shortly?
I took that out and said refer to the timeline on Engage Kingston.
Yeah, that's good.
I have no further information. I can't clarify it. They, you know, GPI would have to do that for us, I think.
Yeah, there is no further information that we have.
Right, okay. So if everybody's good with that, that was the first one. Let me see, was there another clarify? Oh, there was something about the Complete Streets meeting for May 11th. And you asked if that was Helen at that meeting? Well, the answer would be no, because the meeting is tomorrow.
Yeah, and I am going to.
April 11th. Maybe you thought it was April 11th.
Michelle Hurst.
I think you asked me to confirm whether I was going to be able to go or not.
No, it was that comment.
Yeah,
Number 3, it said Michelle had nothing further to report from public safety, and I didn't even know. Michelle
oh, I thought this referred back to Complete Streets.
No,
Oh, this refers to public safety. Well, I think she said she had nothing further to report.
Michelle wasn't here. She couldn't have
wasn't
said
here.
she had nothing further to report. She wasn't here.
She wasn't, I'm confused.
So we're on number 7, reports and updates.
All right, just take that out then. Just take it out. That's it.
Yeah.
That must have been copied from the previous month or something.
Yeah.
Just
okay.
take it out. Take it out. Kill it.
All right, so So going back to the first page, under parcel conservation, there was no mention of the property that was on West O'Reilly that was like 1 acre that I said had a for sale by owner. And
I've included that. That's in there
you
now.
put that in, okay.
Yeah. And I left the others. I left Wilbur Avenue and South Wall in there as well.
Okay. All right, and then I rewrote the information about the infrastructure grant with Schumer. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what happens here is like, it's really difficult for me to participate in the meeting and keep the minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand.
That's what happened.
That's why, it's fine, I'm not complaining.
Some of this, what I try to do is I go back to the meeting, but the meeting was almost 2.5 hours. So that's now, I've been
Yeah,
through a
no,
2.5 hour meeting and now I'm going through a 2.5 hour YouTube
expect
video
you
to
doing
try to
that.
sort this out. Well, you have to. I mean, it's the only way to avoid what you're,
Well, you don't have, we can not be as, you're so thorough. You're not required to be that thorough, but, so then the one that I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit was the Golden Hill development, because I felt uncomfortable saying that our main objective is to decide whether there should be a positive declaration or not.
okay.
And I just
Tell me
felt
what you
like-
all want to
I
put
think
in
that
there.
In regards to maybe some newer members asking us kind of why we do this and why we review these projects. And we're advisory and we are just trying to make sure they're better projects. And so if we said that, then I just want to clarify.
What do you want me to put in there? We've deleted the goal of the CAC review, blah, blah, blah. So what replaces it?
Hey, we could just delete it.
Just delete it and leave it?
Yeah,
Okay, that's done already. So, okay, I think we're pretty good to go on this. Everything else looks okay, there's no big issues on that.
Oh, I just, two things
And I-
under 5A.
5A,
John Schulteis, if we could just have a spelling correction on his name.
SC.
SCH.
oh, okay, yeah, okay.
So it's SCHULTHEIS.
Okay, we got them.
And then also under 7, reports and updates, number 6.
Wait, number 6 or 7?
7, reports and updates, number 6. Ulster County Environmental Management Council,
Yeah.
UCRA, UCRRA.
Oh, right. No. You should probably have just spelled it out. Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, is that it?
Yeah. I'm okay with it.
Okay. And for this month, I put the words in person on there. I just, that was just a holdover from the previous.
Yeah, I know it was, who would have thought we'd finally be in person?
Michelle just reached out, she's not going to be able to make it.
Okay.
Okay, so she's not coming. Okay,
Okay.
all right. Then
So can we have a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
I most. Second.
Okay. Did you hear them? Kevin, I don't know how much you can hear, so.
I can hear, Helen and Ted, right? All right, okay, we're good. Okay.
All right, great, thank you.
Okay.
All right, old business. Anything from Woodsmoke?
Yes, actually, we're going to talk about the, Ted, you want to talk about the film anti-idling stuff?
Oh, yes.
Sure. I sent an email like we discussed at the last meeting to the Ulster County Film Office that I forwarded you all. Basically just trying to find out some more information about how film production companies operate in Kingston and Ulster County, if there's contracts at the county level, or if we should be talking directly to the municipality, to Kingston. Provided them some info about the new law and suggested that perhaps how they can support us in making production companies aware of the law and of reducing their emissions. But I haven't received an update or a response.
Okay, so I did speak with the mayor about this and what the policy is for the city. I put a link in the chat to where film potentials go, which is Film Friendly Kingston page on the website. And so anyone who's interested in filming in the city goes to this page of the city's website to fill out an application, which is a permit. And it goes through our Arts and Cultural Affairs office, which is the director's Kit Potter. And here you can see like application tips. They click on the form and then they are followed up with. In speaking, so if you do click on, you can see there's not a ton of information here, but then on the form, they have to fill in some additional information. And then it gets reviewed. And this is our means of communication with the film company. So if it's HBO or Netflix or whatever. So they fill all this out. They tell us if they need police or fire or parking. They tell us if they're gonna use special effects, will they be using a truck, a tent, all these different things. When the filming's gonna start, what equipment they need, the number of types of trucks, the number of autos, the vehicles, the type of film, what kind of celebrities, all that, you guys can see it. Then they basically say, I agree to this, I agree to this, I agree to this, and I pay my fee. And I spoke with the mayor about it. He said, you know, as we all recognize, we know that film companies have certain things like trailers or generators or like things that need to be running, but there are also other vehicles that don't necessarily need to be running all the time. And I said, well, would our law also apply to them? And he said, absolutely, yes. And how would enforcement work? I said, and he said, enforcement will work the exact same way. So I said, okay, can we put language in this permit or on the website saying we have this anti-idling legislation? And he said, yes.
Oh, great.
So we should just decide if we want it on the website or if we want it in the permit. I would think, just taking a cursory look at this, under the vehicle information part on number 5, we could, where it says like number of trucks, number of autos, miscellaneous, we could write vehicle information and then right under that say, please note, per resolution X of X, the city of Kingston has this anti-idling law and these following things are the only things that are exempt, right? Or something like that. I mean, we could either put that on the web page or onto this actual application. So does that?
I don't even think we need to specify what's exempt. I think we should just make them find out for themselves.
Direct them to, we could hyperlink to the law.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I think we should be as helpful as possible, so we
Sure,
can just
okay.
say, you know.
I'm just saying sometimes longer notes don't get read. Like if you just
Right.
put it in bold, Kingston has a no idling law. Please see this.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just something hyperlink, it doesn't seem too obstructive.
And we could always say really nicely, like, you know, we want to protect air quality, we have a no idling law.
Yep.
Sure.
So, I mean, we can definitely, I mean, again, this is just gonna be my request, but I'm gonna request, if everyone's okay with it, I'm gonna request to put it on this, under section 5, which has vehicle information, where they have to list their vehicle information, and then, we could, if we wanted to go one step further, I mean, under the last page where it says like, I have done this, I have provided this, we could say, I understand the city's anti-idling law, but I mean, I don't know if, I can ask that.
Is there some need to ask them what what has to be running?
I don't know if at the time of the application, they're going to know exactly what they're going to have on site. I have no
They should
idea.
do.
I also don't know if the person that's filling this out is the person that controls what kind of vehicles there are, like, but at least we could say, check here, I have read and understand the city's
Yeah.
anti-idling legislation.
I think that's a good idea. I do.
I mean, and frankly, once we start composting, it would also say in this section, I understand the city solid waste code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, sure.
So it's interesting because in the last page, there's all these things like, in the event that there is a change of schedule, I will notify the mayor's office. I will ensure that our production crew, staff, models, blah, 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 will treat residents and everyone with respect. So those things are, right under that. You can
Yeah,
put
it
that.
seems appropriate in that
Okay, so
area.
I will request both of those things,
Yeah.
or one or the other at least, with a link to the law. And then we will,
You could already put in source separation.
we do already?
No.
Oh, we do
We
already,
could.
we can,
We
yeah,
could.
yeah,
We could request.
yeah. Yeah, because I don't see anything referenced in here at all about solid waste.
Yeah.
Oh, that seems significant.
The thing is, I could get into this rabbit hole of like, well, we should also mention this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we should also mention this.
So maybe we should stick with what they're obliged to do.
Or at least, yeah.
But is there any reason why we couldn't generate a letter when all this has been signed and squared away? Saying, I bet there is a kind of welcome to the city of Kingston, we're so glad you're coming to film here. No, I mean, that just
Yeah,
said,
Who
we would
deals
love
with
it
all
if
this
you
stuff?
would, blah, blah, blah.
Well, one of the things is that not all counties have like an open door policy that says you can come and film here without like tons of issues. And our county is very open to that. I think there's also financial incentives for filmers to come here. And we also just have a very amenable city and administration that works very well
Yeah.
with film companies. And we have a beautiful place, so like, all these things are great. But we are also seeing now more and more film companies and they have an impact, right? So we're doing what we can to address that. Okay.
So how, who answers? What do you do with these permits? Who's in charge of this?
Kit Potter,
Oh, Kit Potter, but is she paid?
she's the director of Arts
right.
and Cultural Affairs.
Okay.
Yeah, she's full-time at
Okay.
a department. And also the mayor's confidential secretary also helps to manage that. It's like a team.
I would just say one other thing is that in this one thing, it just says, please choose from the following, and you check yes, and that says use of special effects. Everything else starts, will you be using X, Y, and Z? And it should be, you be using special effects?
That's why I can't go down the rabbit hole of like, your grammar is wrong, there's a typo. I can't look at this, I can't like, don't put Julie's eye on this at all. So.
You could also
We're not
do
looking
this-
to overhaul the entire thing right now.
You could also do this as a fillable PDF, but anyway,
Yeah.
never mind.
So I mean, that's what we'll do from the city end, and then,
That's
so
great.
Ted, I mean, I don't know, I didn't ask like, what is the role of the Ulster County Film Office? I think that their role is probably like, make Ulster County marketable
Yeah,
to other places, but I don't know how much hands-on they have to like HBO when they get here. I would
yeah,
guess,
it does seem like they're more of a, like providing resources and incentives to filmmakers rather than doing administration. But I'll see if someone gets back to me. They could add something to their website. I know the county's doing even like a sustainability statement might be nice or something like that. So we'll see.
Yep.
Well, having seen these film crews work in the city, I used to live in Brooklyn Heights, like on a street that was like, had a film crew on it more often than it didn't, and they had to bend over backwards to fit in with local requirements. Now, admittedly, it was a bit, you know, it was like the place with the view of downtown Manhattan, but I think we should be able to leverage some requests and not be just incredibly grateful that somebody's come to brought their film money
Yeah.
here, because it does make an impact on, you know, if you're walking down Fair Street and there's 17 giant trailers, it does make an impact on the enjoyment of the city. So I think we do, I think it is good to make sure that they're you know, being considerate, because they sure as hell are used to having to be considerate in other situations.
Yeah.
And they have a whole production team that's used to handling these kinds of things. So I think we should be hard, you know, not hardball, but certainly, you know, make sure that the laws are being obeyed
Right.
at an absolute minimum.
All right, well, I will have that conversation.
Also, I was just in the city a couple of weekends ago, and the idling law there is 3 minutes, I noticed. So
Yeah,
that would be a nice goal.
Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Anything more on wood smoke? Okay, open space planning? Let me see, I would just say that Ted, Kevin and I attended the community preservation plan, the first meeting, and there's another one coming up. And at that meeting, I brought up the Norwalk, Connecticut urban conservation mapping, where they discuss things like air pollution and EJ and health issues and stuff like that. And I think the members felt like that was very interesting. I'm not sure how the consultants feel about having something added to their job, but anyway, so I sent them the website or the link to the manual.
But this is the role of the PAC, and that's also the role of the consultant, which is gather the missing data layers and make sure they're there. So that's what they're hired to do.
Right.
Okay, and the next meeting is
May
The next
24th.
24th.
May 20th.
And we're trying right now to schedule the kickoff public meeting. We were gonna have it in early June, but the final zoning meeting is being held on the date we were going to do it, so we're reevaluating other dates. So that will become public pretty soon.
Okay.
And in the meantime, we are developing also the website, which will be out, or the webpage for Engage Kingston. It's not up yet, but it will be before the public meeting for sure.
Great. Anything from you, Kevin or Ted?
Oh, no, I think I'm good on CPP.
Yeah, just that I had a work conflict, so I did miss the first PAC meeting, but I'll be at the next one.
Oh, there was one thing, and we can do this offline. I think the email address for Greg Shaheen is not correct, because he wasn't getting the information, and I had reviewed it with him last night.
Okay, because he reached out and he was like, "What are the meetings?" And I thought to myself,
Yeah,
"Any emails? How are you not getting this?"
Yeah, I think it's Greg at kingstonlandtrust.org. But we can do that offline. We don't have to, you know.
Oh, no, okay.
All right. So I don't have anything more on Norwalk, Connecticut. Anything more on parcel conservation?
No, none at this point.
Okay, next, Kingston Forward citywide rezoning. I just think, I thought we did a really good job in answering the DGEIS. And let me start back. After our last meeting, there was a public hearing on the DGEIS, right, that we attended.
Mhm.
And then there was the due date of May 5th. And we met that deadline, and I thought we all did a really good job of responding. And Kevin mentioned something very specific about some archaeological study by Joseph Diamond, and the city contact person reached out to us yesterday and today, and Kevin wrote a really good response. And the bottom line is there's a archaeological study, well, my short version of this, and Kevin can expand more, is that there's a study and it's in the Kingston Library's local history collection. So it's not online or anything.
Okay, so did you talk to Bartek about that?
Yeah. Email.
I emailed him and gave him my cell number, which he already had anyway. If, if he has questions, or if Dover Cole or David Gilmore, LaBerge, any of them have questions.
Okay, because he had reached out to me last week about it, and I just have been swamped and didn't get back to him yet, so if you did, that's great.
Yeah.
This report is not, it's somewhere in City Hall, but I'm not sure where. Maybe up in the, the where those spare tables are kept upstairs. Yeah. I don't think it's just sitting around in the planning office, because I've discussed that with Sue.
Okay, so, but you're connecting with him on that?
Yeah, right. If they have a question on it, yeah.
Okay.
The other thing on the Kingston Forward, I think, was the EAF, which I guess everybody by this point realizes that we do have the EAF, but when we were doing this, we didn't know where it was. And it turned out it was appended to the March agenda for the Laws and Rules Committee. It never made its way to Kingston Forward.
Right, so we commented on the generic environmental impact statement, but we did not see the environmental assessment form because we didn't know it existed, and we actually asked that question on our comments. So Kevin and some other people have found that, and is there any next steps or repercussions from that or anything?
It looked like, since it was for a plan, most of the boxes were not checked. You may want to, they filled out sections 2 and 3 for the Common Council already. So you may want to look at section 3 when we get ready, look at that when we, when we get ready to submit actual comments on the form-based code and the regulating plan and the transects and all of that. There's a list of habitat there that you may want to review against what we would have picked up in the NRI or elsewhere. Yeah. So there's a few things, but for the most part, it was, we would have, it wouldn't have substantially changed the comments.
Okay, and then in regard to that, even though it's new business, we can talk about this in new business, but new business A and B came up because of comments that were put into the Kingston Forward comments. And so that's why I'm bringing this up, and it's just more like, talking about where we get this and where this information comes from. So should I talk about it now or?
Nope.
Okay, so we'll wait. Okay.
If you want your video to be showing it, you just have to move your computer.
Okay. All right, city plan review. Anything on Flatbush Foxball?
Yes, I spoke to John Schultes, correctly spelled. Thank you, Jean.
who's taken over from Greg Krupp on that project, and he told me that it had been stalled temporarily because of the departure of Greg Krupp and the difficulty of getting more staff, but he expects it to be moving ahead in a few weeks or so. And he said that the scope is much bigger than the intersection itself. It sounds like it's increased in scope and size. So on Foxhall it extends from Broadway to the intersection with Flatbush, and on Flatbush it extends all the way out to Colonial Gardens. And it will involve installing and extending existing sidewalks and installing sidewalks where there are none currently exist. And they're going to realign the intersection. Probably they're going to shut off Elmendorf to traffic, which makes a lot of sense. But basically he told me there's a citizens committee on the project and that several people have kind of dropped off because they haven't been active, and he suggested that I join that.
Oh, great.
So I'm going to do that. I'm going to be leaving town for 3 weeks. So when I come back, I'm going to, I'll message him before then, but then I'll get more active with that when I come back. I've reviewed the intersection a couple of times. It is a very peculiar intersection, and unfortunately there's no way to stop trucks. It provides essential truck access to a couple of areas of the city. Yeah. But I do think there's an opportunity, and I'm going to sound like a broken record, but to emphasize preserving and planting trees and burying cables. And the whole point is that they're supposed to be trying to make it pleasant and accessible for people who live in Colonial Gardens to access Albany Avenue and other commercial areas where they can buy a pint of milk. And I think that, obviously sidewalks are a great idea, but burying cables and preserving tree cover is absolutely essential. So I'm going to stay on top of that.
All right. Thank you. Anything on the pedestrian bike master plan?
Yes, let me just finish up with connectivity to Colonial Gardens, burying cables, and providing, what are we providing, Helen?
Tree cover.
Tree cover or canopy, yeah, okay.
Kevin, I'm going to put everybody in my note. I wrote this all down and I should have emailed it to people earlier.
Oh, okay, okay. If you want to do that, that's fine, or throw it in the chat or somewhere, that's, any of it's good. Okay, yeah, the pedestrian and bike master plan then. Okay, I have a draft, came in this afternoon from Emily Flynn for comment. It's rather a large document. I'll distribute it. I don't think it's on Engage Kingston where I could just throw it in the chat. This was sent to the project advisory committee, but I think, any or all of you could act as, adjunct members of the project advisory committee and submit the comments to me, and I'll add them in, and, we could be, that could be the CAC comments, could be my comments.
Is there a deadline?
If you all are amenable to that.
I'm okay with that. Is there a deadline?
Yeah, I think it was the 27th. Let me pull up Emily's email. I think she said the 27th, so it's around the end of the month.
Yeah. Well, let me just say I'm amenable, except for I have about 100 different things to do.
Right. I understand that. So, yeah, if people want to submit comments, I'll probably send it from the Kingston Land Trust email, because that has much greater bandwidth, and this is about a 30 megabyte document. Yeah, let's crash everybody's email. I was surprised I got it. So, okay, so we'll do that.
Okay, on a personal note, I was able to ride the trail between basically the post office down to Hannaford's. And it's so nice that it's all paved and everything. It's very nice now.
Great, good.
Okay, so Ulster County Housing Development and Golden Hill Development. Okay, that, we could spend a lot of time on that. So this is again, a recap, we missed, before our last meeting, we missed a hearing, and then the comments were supposed to be due, I think, the Friday, the Monday after Easter, April 18th. And so Kevin and I were even working on Easter to try to finalize it. And then we got a stay on that on Monday, and on Monday the 18th. And so that was primarily a comment on the subdivision. And then, and so that has not been sent in, but I think everyone's read it. And then there were other things that had been in the public hearing, including the site plans and the FEAF, Final Environmental Assessment Form. And we talked about that at the last meeting. We brought the final assessment form up and I had commented on certain things. Since then, actually today, I finished kind of going through it in more detail and putting more stuff in. But I also, so I just sent you a link earlier today and we can talk about that. But I also realized that there is more information in the stormwater pollution prevention document, which is 350 pages. They talk about things that I didn't realize they would talk about, such as archaeological resources and everything. So now if you read them side by side, you can see where for some of the things, why they check them off. Okay, because they're more detail in the stormwater plan. Which, anyway, it didn't make it, it's good because the information is there. And then I also have reviewed the landscape plan, and I've started looking more at the civil plan. The civil, I want to tell you that these plans are in PDF. So if you need to find something, you can use Control F and you can put in something like storm or sewer or the name of a tree, and you can come up with, you can kind of skip through these big, huge sheets that are really hard to read. And so I'm getting a little bit closer, and but I wanted to know if we wanted to just submit the subdivision information, or if we wanted to just try to do it all at once. And then we should probably just set a deadline. So do you want me to submit in parts, or should we keep working on everything?
Looks more realistic part, sounds like.
Well, at least then people would know that we're working on this, you know?
Yeah.
So,
And the sorts of things we're looking at.
yeah, and yes. All right, so then I can go over do you want to go over what I sent in the FEAF, what I commented on? And I could ask you some questions, or would that work? Okay, I got 1, 2, no, it's 2 or 3 nods. Okay, and then the other thing I wanted to ask, has anyone else been able to look at any of this stuff so they could answer some of my questions? Okay, so for instance, has anyone seen anything about the community center that's mentioned? One of the buildings is a community center. But they never really say what's going on in the community center, except that they say there's a childcare center there. And that was in the narrative. So it might be worth reading the narrative. Okay.
And you sent us a link to some of this, you said?
I did, there's a whole Google Drive with a lot of the, so
Okay.
a lot of the documents that were downloaded from the city site, just so they were in another place. So, but I'm gonna just share, so I'm gonna go to the thief and we can talk about that. So what do I do, Julie?
Just hit share screen, I already made you co-host.
Okay, I forgot how to do it. Well, let me get it up first. I'm having technical difficulties here.
Do you want me to help you?
I don't know why it's not responding. All right, here it is. Okay, so first of all, I did exactly what, let me just bring it up, but while I'm talking, okay, share screen. Okay. So can I make this bigger? Yes. It might help for us to like turn the lights off or something. Okay.
Can you do
All right.
that? Oh, your screen's down, maybe. Oh, that's good.
What I did was I took the PDF and I made it into a Word document so I can type into the thing with comments. So I just put comment bubbles in. So now I have to make this smaller so you can see the comment bubbles. So I did ask, so we're not gonna be able to go over this, all of it, but I did want to say that this is, that I did put a question about the form-based code in. Okay. Also now I'm going to show you a really cool trick. If you go to find and you go to, you can go to comments, and then you can skip to every comment. Except for it's making a liar of myself, of me. Where's the next? So I did put this in that the wastewater treatment plant is, is, what's the word?
So
I don't know why I can't get the whole thing. Oh. Let me just turn that off. All right, let me just, so that's a form-based code. The next one is, I didn't put anything in about stormwater management, but I put a placeholder. So I started putting placeholders in for if we want to comment. This was just a question. They didn't put any dimensions in.
Yeah.
So, so that information really is in the civil plans, but, and then this one was about that the wastewater treatment plant is going to be affected by global warming, and that, the ability for the wastewater treatment to handle sewage should be decreased in the future. And it's more of just a comment that everyone
the
should.
ability or the capacity?
I can put capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna do that right now, that's beyond my, okay, we're just gonna do, okay. I went on the PDF, anyway, these boxes are all screwed up, so I can't really tell what they're doing. So will stormwater runoff flow to adjacent properties? And the answer is yes, there is an overflow on the bioretention. And this is, so I want to make sure you know that the only place I think the runoff is going to go is from the bioretention, because there's an overflow on it. And then it would go down that steep hill kind of. But I think we really need to make it clear that the public is very interested, the neighbors are very concerned about existing stormwater flow.
Did you get my comments?
Yes, I did. I put them in. This is one of yours.
Okay.
And so then they do see some of this stuff is in the narrative where they do say they are proposing a bus stop near the community center besides what's
Okay.
on Golden Hill. And this was another thing. This question asks if there's, when you have a question where it asks like about 4 different things, you can just, you answer yes, there's hybrid, but,
Right, yeah.
So this is in the narrative, it talks about how many electric vehicle charging stations will be. In the narrative also talks about how many parking spaces there are in general. And so this is 6 now, maybe 6 later.
How many apartments, how many people are supposed to be living here?
Oh, I don't memorize that stuff, but
But
the bottom line is it's like 1.5 cars for a 1-bedroom, 2-car parking lots for a 2-bedroom. And then for the over 62, there's 0.5 parking spaces.
Right.
Yeah,
But even 12 doesn't sound
No,
like enough
right.
to me.
but apparently right now the stretch code says you have to have 5% of the total parking.
Right, which seems
So we
way
could-
too low.
Yeah, we could comment on that.
If you are gonna comment on it, you might want them to stipulate whether it's gonna be level 2 or a level 3 charger.
That's really.
Okay.
Because that impacts the
Makes a
power
huge difference, yeah.
and a lot of
The
it.
speed of charging, yeah.
Okay, yeah, see, and everything, it's just like a moving target, right? And then, I don't even know what level 2 and level 3 means, so, but this is all on Google Docs, and you can, on Google Drive, and you can do this
Okay.
yourself. So I wanted to know if there were share rows included on the vehicle rows. Share rows are sharing cars with bicycles and their arrows with a bike on it, and that's why they call them share rows. Okay, it's not a misspelling, but you can see them all over Kingston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just said that 10% of the entire parcel is not minimal, that you're
Agreed.
removing 3 acres. This was another
That's
night sky thing.
Yeah.
So same thing here. I looked at the landscaping plan, the lawn and landscaping plan, and it's after I put this comment in. And there's lots of different they're all native plants. There's the trees, shrubs, and then the flowers that would go either in beds or in these, what are they called? Not rain barrels. They're planter boxes that are,
Concrete, like.
but some of them, the rainwater, the gutters would go into them to absorb the water.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a bioretention area?
No, they're planters. They're, okay, so this is where there is supposed to be a daycare center, but the question was, Are there facilities serving children within 1,500 feet of the project site? But they didn't name the proposed one.
Right.
And then they said that there is no dam, but in other places they call the impoundment of the fire retention pond a dam. And so anyway, so I just comment on that. And then the only other thing, as a parent and everything, I can't figure out if they're ever gonna fence this. I couldn't figure out. But I think that's something we need to ask. And then this is, Anita, this was one of yours. You know, there's a database for the state that shows where there have been spills have been cleaned up, and sometimes, and you know, are there not cleaned up spills? It says so in the database. They may have been cleaned up, but the data is wrong. But, so I think this is a good question. And then this is this was just my comment that they checked both boxes, so I'm not sure what that means, but these tell you where they looked for remediation. And it makes sense, this is a pretty industrial area that there were probably, and I know there were oil tanks or something, so I believe. So I just went through all this stuff. This is, I put in as a placeholder. Let me know if you're not following along, because I'm just.
Oh, yeah.
So these freshwater ponds, these are in the stormwater prevention plan. They list these also, and they tell more about where they are, so there's more information on that. I don't know if I got this right, Anita, but I didn't know if we wanted to list specific, like deer and opossum and raccoon, or.
They just were pretty broad with some.
But this is even broader. So, because I put, you know, very broad, right? So you guys can look at that. Okay, and then this kind of comes up to the question. There's a group called the Natural Heritage Group, and that's inside of DEC, and they map all these species that are somewhat either threatened or endangered or whatever. But they only do kind of a broad brush because they don't want anyone to know where exactly they are. And so they've come up with the northern long-eared bat and the bald eagle. And in terms of the New York list, the next question, we would need to look that up ourselves and satisfy ourselves if there's anything, because they said no. But I don't know enough about it to answer.
Typically the bats are on every list. If there's
Oh, so they're
even a remote possibility of a shagbark hickory tree being somewhere in the vicinity, they put the bats on.
well, no, that's endangered or threatened.
Yeah,
The difference is rare.
this is rare. Okay. Sure. Well,
Yeah.
one of the bats could be a species of special concern.
Besides endangered.
Yes.
Okay, so we can.
I'd have to look that up. I don't have that off the top of my head, but.
Okay, that's why I'm going through this. And by the way, that what it means for the eagle and the bald and the bat is that when they do any tree cutting, they have to do it when the bats are not nesting. That's not the right word. Brooding, yeah. So that depends on.
Special
That is why the trees on.
nesting.
Special.
So then the other one was weird. It was like,
On Henry Street got cut so early
yeah,
because of the bats. They were cut before the bats could start roosting.
roosting. Thank you. Okay, and then it said, would it affect? Is it used for hunting, trapping, fishing, or shellfishing? And I was like, do you think people are? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but do you think that you can't discharge a firearm, so what would you trap? Could you trap? Could you hunt with a bow and arrow?
In the city limits?
Yeah,
There's no hunting in the city limits.
okay, that's the bottom line.
What
then.
about fishing?
Even what about trapping?
I don't know if people are allowed to, but I know that people do.
Okay, all right, so we can just leave yes. Okay, there is, the soil maps are listed in the stormwater prevention plan. And so if we could look at those and see if there's anything more. And then the next comment is this is also the information about the State Historic Preservation Office that is, I believe, in the stormwater plan. And there's a letter from SHPO in the stormwater, in the appendix. And that's,
Yeah, I don't think Golden Hill appears on the master Joe Diamond map. I can look at the supplemental maps he has in the report to see if there's anything archaeo.
okay. So,
Yeah, I
that-
don't recall archaeo being a big thing at Golden Hill.
okay, and then I added that so the next thing is I added, that it's in the Hudson River Valley National Heritage Area. Which basically the entire 10 counties of the tidal Hudson are in that area, so.
What about the state park?
Oh, I forgot. Thank you. State Park. Now I'm gonna,
I threw the DEC endangered, special concern, and threatened list in the chat.
thank you for reminding me. to look at that. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. I haven't had time to do much of that research myself.
So then the only other thing that was in here, so you could definitely see where more information could be had. Just reading this FEAF is difficult because once you read other things, you see that they've covered it in detail in one of these other documents. So I added that we would like to be added as the interested entities. And I was sent a letter saying that as an interested entity, and I think there were other people on this, but I haven't gone back, anyway, to say like the Kingston Land Trust or other ones, but at least we should be listed.
Yeah, I don't think the land trust is really tracking on this.
Okay,
It hasn't been on an agenda. And I can tell you for sure that the Landmarks Commission is not tracking on it either. I see them on the list, but
right.
hasn't come up on an agenda either. But I will look at that archaeo map and see if there's anything.
All right, so that's what I was thinking. Oh, here's the amount of buildings, Helen.
Oh, right.
160 units.
Wow, yeah, 12
Mm.
charging stations for 160 units seems like way too few.
Yeah. One of the comments I put in was about wastewater management. Given that we are expected to have increasing amounts of
Yeah.
rainfall.
You don't mean wastewater, you mean.
No, yeah,
Right.
rain
The
runoff.
reason I didn't put this in yet
Uh-huh,
is, but I can, and I'll explain, is that they, in the stormwater pollution prevention program, plan, whatever, they mentioned that they use this Cornell extreme precipitation map. And I believe that does take all of that into account.
okay,
And so that's where, I didn't want to say that until I felt like they
Okay.
had done the right thing. Or that
Okay.
they already have, looked at that. And so I can, find that.
so what you're saying is what they've planned as a holding pond should be sufficient into the
Yes.
future.
But I'm not positive yet.
Okay,
Okay. And so that's we need to, I can put that
because,
up.
I've been immersed in the climate change stuff. And,
Mhm.
they want to shift to, it's 25 years, they want to have us using just electric vehicles.
Yep.
And 12 charging stations?
That's right, we need to definitely put that in, thank you, yes. Yeah. So other things in that Klipka thing, and, okay,
Shaniqua is actually tracking on the affordable housing component of the project. Actually, I was incorrect. She's actually tracking on that.
okay.
But
Right.
as far as Greg or me or something, well, I am through here, but I don't think Greg has got the capacity at this point to be tracking on it. So,
Okay.
so it's just the housing component for Kingston Land Trust at this point.
Okay, and then I wanted to, I really appreciate, we could think more about the whole Klipka thing. And then I wanted to just bring up two other things just to show what I did today. A couple things. First of all, this one, let me see if I can bring it up. Okay, share. Okay, in the civil drawings, they list 2 dumpsters and, they only put 4 yards, 1 4-yard dumpster that's labeled for recycling. And I know that this is not how the management might do things and everything, but I put in some comments.
Great.
About that, so we need to put that in somewhere. But do you see, this is like how you have to, again, like I looked to the civil plans and then I put in recycle.
Right.
And then it popped up out of.
Great.
Yeah.
Waiting pool and stuff, yeah.
And then the other thing is, if I was wondering if this is really, should we put in that there should be clotheslines? And does anyone know if there's laundry facilities?
That's a great question.
Because I haven't seen anything about the buildings themselves. Because if they're all going off site to do their laundry. And then,
Yeah, that
okay,
would be ridiculous. Are they assuming that people will have their own washer dryers in the units?
I don't know, that's why I couldn't tell. But, so that's some kind of the detail that, and then I also put, Okay, so this is the plants, these are the trees, and I'm sorry, they're out of focus because I took a screenshot and they don't come out, but red maple, tupelo, service, swamp white oak. So you can, this is in the landscaping plan. Here are the shrubs. And then these are the plants. And I think there's a grass at the very bottom.
Did the tree commission review these?
I have no idea.
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, should we ask them to?
I was under the impression, or maybe assumption, that the tree commission would review all planting plans for all developments. That's maybe a very naive thought of mine.
I don't know.
So for instance, like maple are on here, and our tree inventory states right in it, like limit the amount of additional maple that we're planting. I don't know how many maples this is listing, and I don't
Yeah,
know.
you have to go to the site to show where the maples are because, there's little circles for every little tree.
Yeah.
And then,
And they also have a suggested list of
right,
particular trees.
All right. Well, the tree commission does.
The tree commission
Yeah.
does.
right.
What's
and
wrong with
then-
maples?
There's nothing
Just
wrong
so
with it
many.
except for that we have so many already, and in the event that you have a lot of something and that something gets a blight or a disease, then your entire
Yeah, yeah.
population can be wiped
Yeah,
out. So
yeah.
the diversification.
Sure, it happened with elm trees in Britain when I was growing up.
Mm.
or
So
ash
the,
or whatever, yeah.
so just for example, the rain garden shrubs are listed here as black chokeberry, buttonbush, and St. John's wort. So they're talking about rain gardens. Okay, and then I had one other question. And those were all my, I'm gonna bring up one more. Let me see if I can do it without. Maybe you have to stop sharing to bring something up.
I don't think so.
Um, Julie gave us this sustainability checklist, and I'm not sure about the very top. Because
That comes from the comp plan.
it comes from Champlain.
See that, yeah.
So
This is in the comp plan.
So should this be sent to them or, because I thought there was one where we kind of commented and said, no, they didn't do this, yet they did do this.
That's the context that I would suggest,
Yeah,
that you
Yeah.
could say, as a reminder, this is in the comp plan, per the CAC's review, we feel as though this is satisfied, this is satisfied, this is not, this is not, this is not.
yeah. Okay, so the reason I had said it was probably too soon to answer most of these is because I haven't seen anything about the buildings.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So in that case, it could be then sent as a suggestion with it that says, these are the CAC's comments on the site plan. And we are going to submit this list to, as a reminder, in the development of the buildings, these are,
Actually, when I went to the public meeting, they had a couple of boards with suggested materials that were going to be used. And none of them were recycled and I did actually ask about it, and I'm thinking about it. It didn't look like any of this was in mind.
but some of this is in the building. So like,
Sorry, I mean, in terms of materials for buildings.
okay, yeah, so like buy locally produced building materials or use salvaged building materials.
Right.
Like that is,
I mean, obviously, they're using a previously
Yeah.
disturbed site.
and I know
maximize the
the
use of
county is
renewables.
trying to get, the county is demolishing the site and they're trying to get it to be not demolished, but to be deconstructed. So the
Semantics, yes. All right.
demolished means they would like just whack it down with a wrecking ball
Yeah.
or something.
Right.
Deconstruction means take it apart and try to
And you
do
can
some
harvest
reuse.
some of the, yeah, okay, that's good.
So that would
was,
be
that
like,
was another question I had. Do we have any information? Thinking in terms of water runoff again,
Hmm.
Are there porous materials that can be used in place of impervious materials? I'm thinking maybe parking lots or
Also,
something.
the asphalt, did they talk about the parking lots?
I thought I read that they thought that that wasn't gonna work, but I may have had that from another situation.
Because of the bedrock?
No, because of maintenance and the other stuff like that, and then, so that's where we can, comment. And the other thing is there any overflow that could be grass?
Right.
But that they could use for parking if they needed to, and that kind of stuff.
Because the water runoff from that site seems to be a big concern.
Right, yeah,
Yeah,
it's on top of a.
To the whole
rock.
to the neighbors surrounding it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe not to them, it's gonna run off of their property.
The king of the castle, yeah.
I mean, I would say at this point, this list, if you look at it as a whole, most of them are about the building.
right.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there are a few of them like use water saving features that those decisions probably haven't been decided yet, but a lot of these other ones are on the site level.
Yeah, so we could answer them by the site level.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's happening with maximum use of renewable energy. I actually was trying to figure out
Yeah, that
whether,
is-
and how, what they're heating with.
Didn't you say that they didn't mention renewables?
No.
They
they
did
did
not.
not.
Yeah.
They
And there
did.
were no solar panels on the plan or anything like that, which kind of surprised me.
But what about air source heat pumps?
I don't know. Yeah, that's the kind of thing we need an answer for. You know, do we do this now or later?
That's.
Yeah, I think sooner the better.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I've been looking at the plans, and I did find that the laundries looks like it's in unit, but the community center is gonna have a laundry room too. But there are these little boxes that say solar in the blueprints,
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
and I don't know what that means, but it looks like maybe it's some sort of like utility section of the building, something to do with solar.
Well, it might be lighting for the area or something like that.
Or
Yeah.
is it the
Inverter.
inverter?
It just says solar, so I'm about the size of a closet, maybe.
Right.
That would be the inverter.
That could be the inverter, but yeah, because there's no,
The inverter is basically the thing on the wall inside of your house that takes the sun's energy and converts it to electricity.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
it's like
thank you.
this
Oh, okay, so it sounds like they are planning solar, but I didn't see
we
any
don't know,
panels.
because I didn't see anything anywhere else.
Well, are the roofs pitched or flat? They didn't show the buildings yet.
I mean, they just have little cartoons of them from the
Yeah,
very
it's hard
beginning.
to tell from the.
But if there's.
Yeah, and the only place I'm seeing that is on like the second floor plan of, it's like the fourth or fifth page of the
Site
of
plan.
the blueprints, and it, yeah, of the plan, and it's only one. I'm only seeing one thing that says solar.
Hmm.
Like I don't see it in some of the other plans, so I don't know if it's for the campus, like just like solar lighting, or if it's actually for the units.
I just feel like if they were going to be doing solar for the whole complex, that would have been pretty clear in the
Yeah.
messaging.
I agree.
Yeah.
And it isn't. I
You
mean,
know, yeah,
the whole thing felt to me like something from like 10 years ago, to be honest.
and we definitely need to
It's
say, because it's such a moving target, like food waste and EVs and switching over, you know,
I think
like-
they need to be more
that-
encouraged to be more forward thinking,
Yeah.
basically.
because that's why I couldn't, I don't know if they talk about gas delivery to the site or, and that's where it would be in the civil plans.
Also, are they designating recreational space or are they paying into the rec fee?
They do have, well, there's been comments that they don't, that it's not enough, but they have adult playground, they have adult exercise areas like a parkour. And they have some playgrounds, they have picnic tables,
Okay.
but I don't think anyone thought that it was a huge amount.
No.
No.
So do you want to explain the park fee?
Yeah, so there's a legislation in the city where any new development that is 4 units or more needs to have a certain amount of space on their property designated for recreational use. And if they don't meet that threshold, which frankly, the threshold is not really very clear, I think it's a little bit subjective, which I don't think is great. I think it's up to the planning board, but I don't know for sure. But either way, if they don't meet that, they have to then pay $3,000 for every unit above 4 units into the rec fee reserve. And the rec fee reserve comes to the recreation department, and we can basically use it for recreational improvements, playgrounds, trails, like anything on a city level. We have to get common council approval every year on how we use it, but basically, if this goes in and they don't put in the threshold for how much they're supposed to put in, it would be a substantial amount of rec.
At 160
Yeah.
units, yeah.
100,
Yeah.
so it would be 156 units
Times 3,000, yeah, that's a lot of money.
Wow.
Nearly $500,000.
Yeah.
So there's this thing called, I'm gonna just put this, the extreme precipitation is where they're planning for instance, 2.6 inches in 24 hours for a 1-year return period storm, and 100-year would be 8 inches in a 24-hour period. So that's what they're using. And I don't know
I'd
if that
say that's
translates.
totally inadequate.
Then we can say that, yeah.
I agree.
So,
I think we've had that.
More than that.
8 inches in 24 hours, I think. 8 inches of snow is one thing, but 8 inches of rain is
That's
a lot.
incredible.
I mean, it is an incredible amount, but we've had a couple of storms this spring that must have been at least 3 or 4 inches.
but anyway, here's the link and everything. I guess it doesn't help. Anyway, so those are the only things that I think we really need. I'm going to ask you one. I think we really need to cover the stormwater better. And then, sorry. They say that the water would go to Tropskills Creek. And so I'm imagining that means that if water goes into a stormwater pipe, that it's discharged into the Tropskill. Is that true? Because they say that any stormwater leaving the site would go to the Tropskill, and I would figure it would hit a road, it would go into a sewer.
All right. I'd have to look at the sewer map for that, which I'd have to find it. But my recollection is from the sinkhole matter that the water is directed to Rondout Creek through the 12th corridor.
That's what I thought. Okay, because
I think we covered that during the NRI when in the watershed mapping. Yeah, I think this would be, would end up in the Rondout, even if it looks like it should end up in the Esopus, it won't.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense then. I gotta charge my phone or my laptop.
Did you include the rec map or have you looked at that again?
The site plan, I have not looked at it.
Okay, the rec map, I mean, that, I don't know what the threshold is, for the recreation fee, but they do have 1, 2, 3 playgrounds. The community building is where 2 of them are, a picnic area behind the community building, outdoor fitness area, another picnic area, but none of this looks huge.
Yeah, and I think that has come into question because I don't know if the threshold is dimensional space or capacity of the space, or
Right,
if it is like defined at all, or if it's objective and the planning board says, yeah, that's enough, or if they don't, like, I don't know how that process actually works.
Yeah, there's several outdoor fitness areas, and there's a connection to the Empire State Trail, which, they throw that in on the rec map as well.
right.
And that
I
looks like
think
a
it's-
far-fetched connection, and with the switchbacks, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we had looked at that years ago with Dennis Doyle, and, for the, Walkill Valley Rail Trail, bringing it up there, and it, they got, take it off the map. Yeah.
So the next steps is like, we have this rolling deadline, but we really should get done. The only other thing I was wondering is if we should suggest that the planning board hire a consultant to review the stormwater management plan, because I think they can do that.
Isn't that the role of the engineer?
It could be, yeah. Or they can ask for an outside expert, right?
I don't know. I thought you said that John already reviewed it.
He reviewed part of it. He said he did, there is some information, but he said he would review it. There are more.
Yeah, I think that's the role of the engineer. I mean,
Okay. All right, that's fine then. I think we just need to, as I said before, emphasize that people are already experiencing stormwater. And that, flooding, and that they need to do whatever
Take a
they
better
can
look
to
at
do
that.
that. Yeah. Okay, so it's getting late, right? So, anything more on that? So should we try to get this done by, in 2 weeks or something?
Planning board meets next week, I think.
I know, that, yes. So did we agree that we would send in the subdivision or do everything? We were thinking maybe it would let them know that we're
Yeah,
reviewing this.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. And I apologize, I'm leaving on Thursday, and I'm really not gonna have you.
I'll have some fun
Okay.
in the next few weeks. Might have to help direct me places.
Wait, where are you going now? What, can't you work there?
No, I'm gonna be walking across muddy bogs,
Oh, good. Yeah, have a good.
laughing.
Okay, so can we go on to the rest of the agenda?
Do we have a deadline on this or no? We're not doing it by next week, right?
We're trying for May 24th, but we will send just one part into the planning board so they, all right, great. Okay, so the next thing is East Strand.
Nothing. Hasn't appeared again.
Okay, Hurley Avenue.
Hasn't appeared again. It's sitting at the county still, same as last month, pending, they had an extension on the court filing, which means they're still in talks with the county.
Okay.
Kevin, do you want me to keep putting this East Strand and Hurley Avenue on the agenda, just in case?
Well, in case, I don't know what's going on with East Strand, it seems like every month we're just tabling it. Hurley Avenue could, as soon as the county decides to act, it may be back. I don't know.
There's no harm in keeping it on the agenda and just tabling it.
Yeah.
You want to just keep tabling it? We can do that.
Or you just need to let us know a week in advance so I can get it on the agenda if we need to add it.
Yeah, it could end up being like a day in advance because of when the planning board agendas come out.
Then we should keep it on.
Yeah, okay, just keep it on and we'll table it. And if, yeah.
Okay. Water quality septic code review, do you want to keep that on?
Is anyone working on it?
I'm not, are you, Kevin?
No, that was really Sebastian that was, running with this one.
And who was he working with at the?
Greg.
He was working with Greg Krug.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe we should, maybe I can try to at least figure out where he was on that. So we don't lose any,
If you want me to take that over.
okay.
Yeah, I think, well, they had identified, parcels that weren't connected
Right.
city sewer system, but I don't think they were able to determine if they had septic. And there weren't that many parcels.
Yeah. All right, I'll check in with Sebastian. New York Climate Action Council draft scoping plan. I just want to say that there's a lot of activity, webinars helping people kind of understand what's going on. And I know that Anita's also been doing that. If you are interested, on Thursday, they did get a Hudson Valley venue, and that hearing is Thursday. And at 2:00, if you go to the New Pulse Park and Ride, you can go down in an EV to attend the hearing. You could. So anyway, and I attended the one on Saturday that was remote, and it was just interesting to hear what people say. They only get 2 minutes, so it's very, what's the word? It's very succinct and it's all over the place, like whether it's, gas or nuclear or wind or solid waste. Not a lot on land use.
Yeah, the webinar I sat in on was by Hudson River Estuary Program. It was hosted by them. And they focused on, I forwarded the follow-up information. They focused on chapters 19, 20, and 21. So I've read through them. And I've also looked at chapter 15, which is agriculture and forestry. Because I'm going to send them some contact information about USDA research on methane reduction, some things like that. Because a comment was made by in one of the other webinars that they didn't have a lot of ideas for agriculture. So I'm going to try and send some of that forward. I don't know, well, if you want to read through it, go ahead, but it gets pretty repetitious. They say kind of the same thing for each, well, we need to plan for this and this and this, but there's no specifics. And we need to put more money. We need to educate the public, and we need to do more research. And so it's hard, I found it hard to formulate some kind of comment, other than that I have some information that I think they might find useful. Just in general terms, they're really focusing on reforestation and planting trees where they aren't already, afforestation.
Yes.
And that's pretty much covered. That's all in the land use chapter. The other is zoning for new developments, to focus on using empty lots or unused industry in the cities, and think in terms of public transit rather than personal vehicles, in terms of where new developments are going. And there's also a section in there for municipalities in terms of where they're gonna assistance for them to site like solar projects or some of the things to do with reducing landfills and improving recycling.
Right.
But most of it's like not specifics yet. Because the panel was made up of agency heads and then some appointed people, including like the one webinar was, I guess that was the League of Women Voters one, where they had speakers from ecology activists, nature activists of New York. And he was on one of the panels, one of the specific panels. And he's the one that made a comment about agriculture, so I'm going to send the context stuff to him. But it's all now being turned back to specific state agencies for them to come up with specifics and staff to provide assistance to landowners, to start a forest corps. There's a lot of terrific ideas, but it's going to take a lot of money. But they do make the point very early on that in the long term, the cost on health is going to be multiple times what it's going to cost to start now, or to continue now.
Yeah.
For some of us.
Right?
I think you meant environmental advocates, because I think that's who, yes.
Yeah.
Ted, you said this in no, you reviewed it too, right?
So I haven't actually reviewed much besides skimming, but I started doing some research on like suggested comments by other organizations on the plan. And I shared a document before today's meeting where I linked to some different kind of calls to action. There's one from an environmental education group that's advocating for more support of environmental education. There's one from an organic farming group that you might think is interesting. And also just some like general comments shared by different groups. So it is definitely overwhelming and hard to think about the focus of our group and what we should comment on, but I just started kind of compiling what other people are saying.
Well, there's some things that we're already looking at, like tree cover.
Right.
In terms of heat waves and things. And somewhere in there I read more people die from extreme heat than something else you would think would be a major killer.
Yeah.
Oh, major
Hurricanes or
storms.
flooding. Yeah,
Yeah,
storms.
hurricanes and flooding. And flooding is New York's biggest disaster concern.
Mhm.
And there's also a big section, I haven't specifically read that part on, well, there's two things. One is environmental equality, remediation equality. And that sort of bleeds into all of them.
Yeah, they had to put it in,
Yeah,
they had to address it everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. And the third chapter I looked at was 21, which is adaptation and resilience,
Yes.
which kind of impacts some of the things we're doing, like looking at wetlands and what's going to change in terms of wetlands and how do we allow that to happen.
You're talking about flooding of the wetlands from sea level or the wetlands that are on the ground, on the land? I mean, inland. Sorry.
Both.
Yeah.
I think they're talking about both. Since we're going to be getting more rainfall
Right.
and also sea level rise. So we're dealing with two things.
Right.
Mhm.
Or at least New York is dealing with
But we're also getting developments that are draining wetlands
Right,
as well.
so. Something's not getting wrong.
So I agree. I think we should look at, I forgot, I don't know the numbers of the chapters, but land use, resiliency, and forestation.
Yeah, forestation.
And if there's.
That's
any-
in the land use.
Yeah,
Primary. And there's a forestry and agriculture.
right, forestry.
Chapter.
Yeah.
And the chapter for municipalities is just a short one. But they're addressing assistance in terms of changing the fleets,
Okay.
dealing,
Energy.
dealing with energy and that sort of thing.
So are there any action steps that we,
Well, I think what we're trying to do is read through it and see what we can comment on and then figure out if we can do it as a CAC or if we're gonna just send them in individually.
individually.
And part of that is just like
There's
getting towards the
included in what I
10%.
sent you was some links to comment,
yes, I saw that.
because there's a comment form.
Yeah,
Right.
well, there's no reason why we can't comment individually and then
Right,
also.
yes. Yeah,
And then I also learned that one of the reasons to go to the hearings is because the anti-groups send fleets of people just to sit there. They may not even speak.
Oh, wow.
So it's more of a press and a media coverage so that unions that, like people that are working at gas-powered electric plants will send in and kind of fill up the auditorium and stuff like that. So it's
I think
good
I
to
saw
have
that
people
again.
there. Yeah. And so, anyway, but they're happening fast.
Cool, that's good.
And I just wanted to note that we had signed something to say we wanted something in the Hudson Valley. We decided to do that at the last meeting and they did have the hearing they did plan and the hearing's Thursday. It's in Peekskill. Which, by the way, you take the train to Peekskill too, which is a really nice.
Oh, yeah.
Way to go.
Gorgeous.
There's also a virtual meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m.
yeah.
Oh, gosh, another one tomorrow? Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I signed up for that one.
Are you going to speak?
No, I'm just gonna hear them out.
Yeah, because you can listen without speaking.
Yeah.
But you have to register if you want to speak. Lorraine spoke on Saturday.
Hmm.
I can't think of her last name. I'm so
Farina.
sorry. Yeah, Farina. Yeah, she spoke on Saturday. Okay, anything more on that?
I'll keep trying to absorb more of it.
Yeah. Okay, so in J, the Extended Producer Responsibility Act, so where we were following that was that there was a lot of activity about not getting anything into the budget because it felt like there was no reason to have extended producer in the budget. And the kind of the advocacy people were saying that you should wait to get a bill, a better bill. And Steve Engelbright, who represents Long Island, has brought that forward. I sent you an email today, so that is just something we can follow, and that includes kind of the extended producer responsibility and a better bottle bill would kind of go hand in hand. They're separate, but they hand in hand. So I think we can keep following that. I don't have anything more to say about that. Anything on that? I think that, okay, so new business endangered species discussion, we already kind of covered that. Basically, the data is either in a federal repository or in the New York State and that heritage, and that and so we might have that information on our natural resources inventory. And so that was my question to Kevin, if he or Julie, if they, you know exactly where that is.
It would be in an appendix if it were.
Yeah, and that, I mean, they even include like the migratory, you know, the water, like sturgeon and shad. I don't know what, they might even include that. And so while they looked that up, and then also I wanted to, someone mentioned a tree inventory, and there is a tree inventory that exists through the tree commission. It is not on private land. There is no tree inventory for private land. There is a tree inventory for the parks, and there's a tree inventory for street trees. But there's no inventory that would say like that I have an oak tree. in my
Yeah.
land. Yeah, but you can get the canopy cover information, not the species, but you know, there's canopy cover information, but the tree inventory is really important because it says these are the trees that you need to plant right now. This is the ones for next year and so on, so.
So
And that's-
Go ahead.
Appendix
F of the natural resources inventory has the species tables and lists for everything in Kingston. And on it are habitats, including, so tidal river doesn't apply, intertidal shore doesn't apply, marsh doesn't apply, waterfowl winter concentration area doesn't apply, anadromous fish concentration area doesn't apply, short-nosed sturgeon does not apply, bald eagle, Indiana bat,
Mhm.
eastern small-footed myotis,
Mhm.
northern long-eared bat, wood frog. The rest are all riverine. And then there's a significant birds section,
Okay.
which includes water thrush, which is not relevant, scarlet tanager, wood thrush, woodcock, black-billed cuckoo, blue-winged warbler, brown thrasher, prairie warbler, willow flycatcher. And this is the typo because it says S, the common name is S. Oh, it's a wetland bird, so never mind, it's not relevant.
What appendix was that? You say?
Appendix F, there's also a plans of conservation concern, so Appendix F has all of this in it.
Okay.
of the natural resources inventory.
Yes, which is at kingston-ny.gov/NRI.
Okay.
One thing I was going to mention about the natural heritage is that that's mostly derived from actual sightings of different species. It's not an all-inclusive thing, and quite often what developers do is if they're going to do some clear cutting, they go to the natural heritage and say it's not there, and they check off no on the EAF form. So you have to be careful using the natural heritage. If something has been found, it will be there, but if it, there could be there's a lot of things that are not there in that. It's not a complete data set, although it's often treated as if it were.
Okay.
Good point.
But DEC itself doesn't have.
They have they have a different listing,
Okay.
maybe partially derived from national heritage.
I just got wound up in building now.
It's okay. So, that's a good point, and sometimes, biologists or ecologists go out and look and, survey the sites.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Okay. Just one thing, and I'm sorry, I should have asked for it to be put on the agenda because it's actually old business. Last meeting we discussed leaf blowers.
Yes,
and the prospect of banning them. I don't have anything definitive yet, but I've reached out to several different municipalities in Connecticut and New York and New Jersey, and California to ask them how they did it, what the
Oh, great.
schedule was, whatever, and I've been gathering all the information from them. The
Awesome.
predominant pattern seems to be that there was initially a sort of partial ban, and they saw how the community responded to that, and then a number of municipalities then continued to a complete ban on gas-powered lawn equipment of any kind, actually, lawnmowers and leaf blowers.
whoa,
So it's a question of how far we want to go, but what I really want to do is get I'd love to get hold, I haven't managed to get hold of a human being yet to say, look, how did this go? Was it really contentious?
Right.
Or was it something that everybody went, oh, thank goodness we're doing this kind of thing?
okay,
And
Thank you.
always taking into consideration how these bans impact people who earn their living
right,
from burning leaves and rain lawns and all that, because that's significant. Okay, so I will report back more next meeting.
okay, thank you.
Okay.
So part of the open issues discussion was kind of to get us involved in stuff, and I feel like now we're really involved. And that we probably don't want to take on anything, but we can keep talking about this, and so one of the, there's two ideas, like whether or not, I feel like there's no one kind of really pushing pollinators, or native plants. And I know, and the thing is that we are more policy than go out and do it.
Yeah.
So, but I know personally that it's very hard to, fight invasive species, particularly plants, but I don't feel like there's a lot of education on that. And it just breaks my heart when I go down Wall Street, South Wall, and see all the knotweed
Oh, God.
and then the barberry, and things like that. So, we could keep thinking about if there's anything we want to do specific to that. Or, like, is the planning, like, is new construction all putting in more native plants and everything, so we don't really have to worry about that? It seems.
I don't know if there's stipulations for that. I do know that we had a big discussion, most recently about when we were putting in the Empire State, or the, Hudson River Brickyard Trail, and actually the Empire State Trail as a whole. A number of us, city staff, and also scenic Hudson folks and state folks rode our bikes the whole way. We identified locations of invasives. We talked about what our plans to not spread them, because like linear paths are how they spread.
Yeah.
And so like, how are we not going to bring all these invasives into the whole entire new, Empire State Trail? So we definitely talked a lot about that, and we're doing work related to that. But the thing with invasives, as Emily would know, is that some are past the point of doing anything about. It's just like, at this point, you sort of just live with them, like water chestnuts in the river. We are never going to get rid of them. They will always be here.
Yeah.
So it's now management. But then there's others where you're like trying to stop the spread. And so it's when we have an opportunity to stop the spread of something, we're doing it, but we're not doing any eradication, because there's just like the invasives that we have locally are past the point of eradication.
Right.
If we were to find something like giant cogweed or something else that we don't
Yeah.
like, kudzu or something we don't have a lot of, we would do eradication, but we're like, all the ones that we have, we're past the eradication point. We're now on like management.
And kudzu, they've now got some good eradication.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Planning, yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
And then, well, the other thing is, like, you could still stop the spread or eradicate it in your, I don't know, if it shows up like,
Right, because I had knotweed in my yard and I actually got somebody professional to come in and they ended up putting down brown paper bags on top of it, and it's actually, fingers crossed, seems
Yeah.
to work. There's
Yeah.
very few shoots coming through.
Like on a
I mean,
parcel
it's
level.
expensive.
yeah, on a
It's
personal.
parcel level, but on
Yeah.
like a city level, neighborhood
Yeah,
level,
or
range
like-
level, it's
yeah.
just not.
I know,
Like,
it's like-
we will never eradicate knotweed from South Wall, it's just everywhere.
Yeah.
But like, can we keep it on South Wall?
Yeah, that's,
And can we
Right.
keep it on, because it's on Chapel Street too, like, is that where we?
And
can-
it's all along the trail between the post office and Hanover.
really,
It's-
right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's the thing about linear paths, is
right.
like, we are spreading.
Okay, well, let's just think about that, if that's something that there's more.
Is there any way to prevent that? That's easy and.
No, it
It's,
is,
no, it's black plastic or cardboard or.
Right.
like, that's the
Yeah.
thing with things like common reed also, like
Yeah.
Phragmites. It gets windy and the seeds blow and like you ride your bike past and you're helping those seeds move. You drive your car by and you're helping those seeds move, so.
Yeah, or just on your boots or your weed whacker. I mean, one of the things is to make sure that the park staff are cleaning their equipment between sites.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's an infestation, there's an infestation in the sidewalk between the new Center for Photography and the parking lot next to Marky Joe's.
Oh, of what?
Not really.
Oh, we maintain that parking lot.
Yeah.
Like in the Prince Street lot?
Yes. So
Huh.
growing out of the foundation. So,
Wow.
anyway, but, okay, so again, this is what this C is about, just if there's something that we want to take on. I feel really like we have a lot to do between now and June 8th, and even going forward with the community preservation plan, but in the future. Okay, so are there,
The state has participated in a survey of native pollinators. They're not doing it in conjunction with the federal one, which I was looking at, but I can try and find out some information about that,
Yeah.
what they're finding in here.
oh, that would be great, yeah, you could report back and talk. That would be great.
And the Y supported a bunch of kids who
Yes.
installed pollinator gardens.
Yes, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah,
I think, but the whole pollinator thing is really gaining momentum. I see a lot of grassroots, as it were, efforts
mhm.
for people to plant pollinator gardens, and it seems like people, there's an increased awareness. I mean, it'd be great if there was more, but there does seem to
Yeah.
be a sort of increased awareness of.
I took a lot of dead pin trees to one of the openings.
You took a lot of what?
Dead pinned native bee.
Oh, cool. To show them?
To show them, this is what you're
Oh, that's so cute.
putting the garden for.
I just want to add also, I know from being subscribed to Catskill Mountain Keepers emails that there's a act right now. I think it's passed the House and it's in the Senate of New York. I'm looking it up. It's the Birds and Bees Protection Act. And I think it's really going after like the big agriculture and chemical industries. But that's something we might want to look into supporting.
Oh, okay.
I can forward an email I have about it.
That'd be great, thanks. Well, pesticides have been a pain in the for beekeepers since they started using them.
Are there any communications? And announcements and events?
I encourage everyone to come to the Earth Fair on Saturday. There will be a climate smart table, and certainly I can put up some information about the CAC as well. It is this Saturday in Forsyth Park from 10 to 4. It's going to be great, lots of vendors and exhibitors and food and entertainment and e-bike demonstrations and test rides, and a bike ride, and electric vehicles, and we're doing a refrigerant amnesty day where people can bring in their refrigerators or dehumidifiers or freezers or air conditioners for free, so they don't have to pay the district to get rid of the refrigerants. We're doing e-waste collection and repair cafe and
Shredding. Are you doing shredding?
No,
No shredding.
couldn't get the shredder.
They had shredding at the library last week.
No, I asked them, they said, we're at too many places, we can't do you too.
What, if you're bringing something like that in, where the heck do you park?
We are going to direct people, down to Deep Stadium.
Okay.
We have a big roll off and we're going to offload it from your vehicle and put it into our roll off.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, any other? Yeah, so the events, all that I'm aware of is the ones for the draft scoping plan, which we've already discussed. Okay, reports. Oh, I did want to say, let me just say that I did watch the Urban Heat Island Effect presentation. And it was all about Westchester, and the guy's name is, yeah, Dan, not Dan. Anyway, he did the same for us. And it's very interesting. He did the same study for us as in Westchester. And, you know, basically where there aren't trees, it's hotter. And that's another reason to plant trees. And he's with City College, but he did most of his research in Massachusetts, but he did a little study for us, but he also, he did a big study in Westchester County.
There was a communication from last month about like a letter of support for that grant. Did that happen or did?
Pardon?
I can't remember. Wasn't there supposed to be another letter of support for that grant that did that get written and submitted?
Yes.
The raise grant?
That is a good, thank you for bringing that up. I wrote a letter to support the Schumer project, and that went in like the day after the last meeting. And it was in support of that grant to fix up the strand and raise up the land,
The raise grant.
raise up the road and stuff like that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, are you going to cover the New York, New Jersey watershed in your report, Ted?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, and Helen, do you think there will be a complete streets meeting when you're out of town? Because please let me know, because I
Right,
said.
no, they only seem to have them every 3 months or so,
Okay.
so this has been the first one since January, I think.
Do you know if they're gonna, oh, never mind. They can't comment on the DG, on the Kingston Forward because they missed that deadline. Okay.
Oh, okay. Is there anything in particular that you'd like me to raise?
I don't know.
They can comment on Kingston Forward. They just can't comment on the scope.
Yeah, they might want to look at Kingston Forward, and also you could tell them about the grant for, are they aware of the plans for those strand?
The raise grant? This.
Yeah, raise.
Streets?
Yeah,
I'm sure she got a letter from them.
okay.
Where of the grant for, sorry?
It is called RAISE, RAISE.
Okay.
It's basically in our minutes.
Yeah.
They could also look at the pedestrian and bicycle plan too. and Emily has it, so that might be something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything more on planning board?
It's Kingstonian, Kingstonian, and Kingstonian again. And then there's Golden Hill, which we already did. So I think, I think we've covered that for the moment.
Okay. I'm sorry, what's the next agenda?
Public safety.
Public safety, Ted.
So it was too late to get the draft resolution to support the New York, New Jersey Watershed Protection Act in front of them for consideration, but I did give them a quick rundown on it, and I've been working with that committee and Andrea Shaw and Elisa Tenti just to get it in front of them for their May meeting, and then it would be early June in front of the Common Council, assuming they don't have a problem with it. I also looked into it a bit, and it's not time sensitive necessarily. There's not a clear kind of drop dead date for advocacy on this. I checked in with someone from Riverkeeper. So yeah, we're on track, but it's going to be until by June, hopefully that's in front of the Common Council.
Okay, thank you. And it's important that they know where to send the letter. And the woman from Scenic Hudson there's a woman from Scenic Hudson that's gathering all the letters. So if you need that information, I can forward it on. I,
in a roundabout way, got in touch with her again by reaching out to someone I knew at Riverkeeper. So I've got her info.
Okay. Climate Smart, Kevin McAvoy.
Yeah, we didn't have a quorum last time. So what I did keep some notes though, which Julie, I'll send them over to you if but Melinda Herzog was there and discussed Pledge Element 9 of the Climate Smart Pledge Element 9, which is climate resilience outreach and engagement. And Cornell Cooperative is working on that. They have a project that was funded through the Estuary program. She presented general information and a sheet that she's developed, which includes both regional and local information. The regional information includes climate and extreme weather, emergency notification systems, emergency planning, disaster preparedness kit information, which she's worked on before, first aid and CPR and power outage information, and pandemic information. I almost said pandemic inflammation. No. Local information is expected to include emergency information from websites, social media, radio, information concerning emergency shelters, warming centers, cooling centers, pet shelters, food pantries, soup kitchens, drinking water, dry ice, evacuation routes, and emergency parking and public utility information. And there is a link. I don't know how current the link is, but I'll put the link in the chat, and that covers us for Climate Smart because there was no quorum.
All right. Okay, at the Ulster County Environmental Management Council, we have speakers from Bard College that are working on very simple kind of resiliency planning to look at what communities can look at to see how resilient they are. And that was very good. And then I also wanted to note that the Champlain Hudson Power Express did get approved by the State Public Service Commission. I can't remember when, and so the Champlain Hudson Power Express is a power line that is a cable that will go through Lake Champlain, then on the bottom of Lake Champlain would bring, sorry, I missed it over, hydropower from Quebec with a cable on the bottom of Lake Champlain coming out and going around all the contamination of the Hudson River near Fort Edwards, and then going back in south of Albany, and then going down to Yonkers on the bottom of the river. And that there was a lot of concern with for communities that take in drinking water from the Hudson about that, but it did pass. And it's been in the works since the Obama administration. Let me see. The Department of the Environment, Europa McGovern has become the assistant. What's the deputy director of the Department of the Environment? And then there was also a lot of talk about solar siting, and it just seemed to me that we had already done. I mean, people are doing the solar planning, but there had already been years ago, there were laws that helped communities kind of think about how they would provide for solar in their own towns. And it just seems to be kind of coming up again. And we also discussed, I am very interested in kind of getting people to protect smaller wetlands and watercourses. And there is interest, and some people didn't know that they could. So we have, so we're going to keep working on that. And this next time, the owner, Harry Turbish, is going to talk about local hydropower. He owns dams, or he produces hydropower on a dam at Wappinger Lake and another one in Orange County. And that's pretty much the only hydropower around, except for the really big ones.
He's going to be presenting?
Yeah, on May 25th. And those are still on Zoom, and you can just come for the talk, and I'll send it out to remind you. So the meetings start at 6:30. We pretty much have a speaker right then, and then those people pretty much leave, and then we do other business. Okay, and then Anita, anything from the tree commission?
Yes, we just met this afternoon. They're planting 21 trees this spring. They're having trouble getting trees, and they're more expensive than they expected, like everything else. We had a small Arbor Day ceremony. We were planning something bigger, but they wound up planting a fruit tree, a fruit-bearing tree, down in the Rondout near community gardens. And there's some real interest in putting some more there. And also, there's a couple other locations that folks have in mind for planting fruit-bearing fruit trees.
Okay. Do you know what kind of fruit tree, or haven't they decided? Oh, you did, you planted it.
They planted it, but I don't think anybody said. They've identified a couple of locations. They're going to do some walkthroughs again, because there will be a fall planting for the tree program. And Lindsay Avenue? Lindsley, okay. Needs trees, so they're gonna hit that neighborhood next. And I already mentioned Henry Street trees down already because of the bats roosting.
Do you know where on Lindsley? Is this going sort of like by the community action, going that way from Delaware South, or up towards Courts Mansion?
they just discussed, they've been going out to neighborhoods, knocking on doors,
Okay,
trying to encourage people to apply for some of these trees. And they had a tree removal on Lindsay. I think and they decided it was a good place to get people.
okay.
Tree caught on fire. And
No, I
they
missed
discovered
that
it
one.
was 12, Lindsay.
Well, oh, that's down a ways. Okay, that's why I missed it. Okay, I definitely missed
Badly
it.
infested with insects and hollows, so they're taking it down.
Okay,
But the tree commission is gonna target that street as a good place to go knock on doors and encourage people to
okay.
plant.
So the 20 trees, 21 trees are gonna plant this spring, or
This spring.
of the 50? That-
Yeah.
A lot of work, wow. Okay,
And
so they're still drumming up business on that?
they're still drumming up business.
Okay,
There are some requests in already for the fall, but they've got more trees, provided they can get them.
that's sad, okay. All right, wow, this is good. Okay, I haven't been talking about next steps. I didn't take any notes on that. Does anyone want to go around and say what they were going to do between now and the next meeting?
I'll dive into more of the climate action plan.
All right, let's go scoping plan,
I'm going to be following up on leaf blowers.
leaf blowers, and maybe, and you're going to join the,
And I'm going to join the Vauxhall Flatbush committee.
Do you want me to add leaf blowers to the agenda
Yes.
for June?
Yeah, let's do that.
it's under what, it's under air quality.
Is it?
It should be,
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It falls under air quality. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think of noise as being air quality.
yes. Oh, it's noise and gas exhaust.
Right.
That's why I was thinking it was air quality.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I should have put it in there.
And I was gonna get some more information on the pollinator survey.
On the what?
The pollinator.
Pollinator survey, right. And then I'm going to work on the Golden Hill, and other people are going to chime in on the Golden Hill
Yeah.
stuff. I'm
I'm
going
gonna
to
go
try to send it,
I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Too.
yeah. And
I think I'm sending out the pedestrian bicycle master plan.
Be speaking with the mayor about adding the language to the permit for the anti-idling for the filmers.
Yep. Ted, you're gonna keep following up with the New York, New Jersey watershed?
Yep, I'll be at the next public safety meeting to go over it and see if they have any questions on it.
Okay, thank you. Helen, you're gonna go to Complete Streets and
Yeah. Tomorrow.
we gave you some ideas to talk about that.
They haven't produced an agenda. I've just checked.
Okay, and we're all gonna try to go to the Earth Fair.
I'll be in Scotland.
Oh,
But I'll be thinking of
I
you.
want a safe trip.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Don't get too deep into it.
It's good for the skin.
all right. I did send you the information about the archaeological information that Kevin sent on to engage.
Okay.
Yeah,
And there is more, but I don't think there is a map of Golden Hill that has Golden Hill on it.
yeah, okay, well, that's okay. Thank you so much, though, for all that information. Okay, motion to adjourn.
I moved it.
That was fast. Was there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, all in favor?
I
Aye.
Bye.
Thank you.